Welcome Flip Clock fans. This is a straight up video. In other words, not a lot of editing. I'm using the actual voice from the video as I'm recording, unscripted for better or for worse. So here we are. These are two Plato clocks, and I want you to try to take a guess which one's older. And I think most of you are going to probably make a good guess. Basically because you would assume because this is brighter, and you say, oh no, somebody polished that. So yeah, this is older. Well, it is older. This is a real Plato clock, or an original Plato clock, as you can see. Patented in 1903, produced probably 1904 to 1914, something like that. So this clock is well over 100 years old. This is a reproduction clock, and it is called the Horolovar Plato Clock. Well, that's what collectors call it. If you're like some collectors, like I used to be, they called it the Horolovar. Now, I got a hold of the current owner of the Horolovar Clock Company, as well as the son of the man who was behind this clock. And they informed me it is Horolovar. So that's how you pronounce the name of this clock. Now, you look at a clock like this, and you're seeing a lot of Plato clocks online. I've done numerous videos about Plato clocks, and you can tell that someone's polished this. Now, is that a good thing or a bad thing? Now, I knew when I bought this that someone had probably almost for sure polished this clock. I didn't care. I liked the look of it. I like it polished. It reminds me of what it probably looked like when they had it. Other collectors would go nuts about someone polishing a clock. That's not me. What about this one? Well, I have no intention of polishing this one because I just like the patina. I just like the look of it. So I'm keeping this one this way. Plus, I don't know what the quality of the material is here and what's going to happen if I did start putting something on there. I have no idea. So I want to go through a little bit about what is going on here. What's up with this reproduction? What's the differences in these two clocks? And what about value? Now, to me, this is worth a lot of money. I have a lot of respect for the man who was behind this. I did a long mini documentary on the guy and flip clocks in general. And I just wanted to have one of these for a long time. It's a bucket list clock. It may be the last clock I get. I don't know. I've got too many clocks, as you may know by watching my videos. So I needed this one. I thought I needed it. That's what I had to explain to the wife. I just had to have this. So it came up, and the thing that caught my eye was the base was not cracked. You will find these clocks almost always have a crack in the base. I have a feeling I know why. Well, it's just the design and the material, but how are people breaking those? And I thought for sure I was at risk for doing that earlier, and I'll explain why and how not to do that, hopefully. Well, what's the differences here? Well, they look a lot alike, just looking at them. But the thing is, it's the winding. So you see here, you've got you'll have a winding key with this one. I don't have the original winding key, which is something I would like to get, but that's not a big deal. So this winds this way. The original key would fit here, like that. This one does fit, but so there it is. This one uses a different mechanism. Now, I look at this as a kind of a workhorse mechanism. The Germans made this and used it in a lot of clocks. This you just grab and turn. It says it's got 7 joules. This has no joules. It's very simple. Lasts about a day. This winding will last about 8 days. And the joules has to do with the pivot points being made out of a synthetic gem, instead of just using metal to brass pivots for the turning. So that's all that means. And a lot of people don't know, well, what in the world's unadjusted? And that's no big deal. Most clocks are unadjusted, and adjusted clock is usually a watch where they would adjust the timing in multiple positions. So you would make sure the clock was making time in multiple positions until you got the best optimal time at all times. And so why would a clock like this need to be adjusted? It does not. So I'm not sure why they have to say it's unadjusted. Maybe that's standard. I don't know. But that's what unadjusted means. It would be surprising to have one that was adjusted in a clock anyway. So again, the history of this clock, you have a guy, his name's Charles O. Terwillinger Jr., and again, that is how you pronounce that. I was informed by the son. It's not Terwillinger. Everybody wants to call it Terwillinger. There's no N. It's Terwillinger. It sounds like Twig. The guy's, the son, his nickname was Twig. And his son at this time is an older gentleman himself. He's in his 70s. Mr. Charles Terwillinger, he passed away in 1988. Now, he was instrumental in his main thing was anniversary clocks. He developed a spring that would compensate for temperature changes, and he wrote books on that stuff, how to take care of those anniversary clocks. But this was his side issue. He liked the old quirky clocks, and this being one of them. Now, he was the man responsible for having these clocks distributed in the United States. These clocks were originally made by Kohler, and then Josef Mergenhagen bought out the tools in making them, and I believe this does say, if you can't hardly see it, it's underneath this plate, but it is a Josef J. Mergenhagen, or Josef Mergenhagen. Again, you'll see here it says West Germany, 8 days, 7 joules. So this is the same mechanism. If I took it apart, you would see it's exactly the same mechanism as this one. This was again, Mergenhagen did produce this after he got the rights, but this one is actually predates Mergenhagen. This is a Kohler flip clock. So they're the ones who developed this, and it says the same thing. It says Kohler, Germany, 7 joules, unadjusted. And finally, this clock is a Kohler. I love this clock. I have made a video that talked about this clock. It is a Kohler Kohler dash clock. So this would screw onto your car's dash. That was how they used to tell time in the old days. You'd have to wind the clock. It is the same thing. It is unadjusted, Germany, and it is 8 day. It says there, Octage in Germany. In German, that's 8 day. This only has 1 joule, interestingly, where the others do have 7 joules. The way you wind these on the Horolovar clock as well is like so. And there it is. So that's a major difference, is the mechanism to wind the clock. There are small other details here. The bottom down here, you'll see it has a gear. It has a gear that helps the clock from not going backwards on itself. This one, I think that's integral into here, but this one, you can see it on the outside there. There's other things. There's a little hole. There's a little post coming up here, and the post is coming up here too. That's to hold the bell on here. So there's 2 screws that holds the bell on. Now, in one that's currently on sale for online, one of the Horolovar clocks, there's a hole there. So I didn't know what that was. I'd never had one of these in my hands before until recently, and that's they've either lost the screw, or someone did what a lot of people do when they're messing with clocks, and flip clocks especially, is they see a screw and they're going to torque it. They're going to torque it down and tighten, and they probably stripped that right out. Again, not really good construction when you're taking a screw to hold this bell in place, which just protects the clock from dust and stuff, and you're putting the screw into a very thin metal. That's not really great design. Now I pre-loosened these. This just comes off. Very similar to this. Not exactly the same. So another difference would be, again, you're looking here. It's just kind of stamped metal. This is plexiglass, while this is glass. So you can see there, you can see that screw hole. This one's in good shape. The only thing the issue I had was several of these plates were warped. Now, you want to talk about something that's nerve-wracking, is trying to fix that. Now, thanks to a couple of our members on flipclockplans.com, they have tried, not for this clock, but for other clocks, on how to fix warped tiles. It's going to vary from clock to clock. It is fraught with danger, but in this case, with this plastic, I can't vouch for this plastic. I can't imagine doing it for this. I took 2 thick glass plates. They were 1/4-inch plates. They were used for decorative purposes, and sandwiched these between them. Heated it at 275-degree oven. That's Fahrenheit, for 7 minutes. took them out, let them cool. It worked, except it pulled some of the paint off. In a subsequent trial, because I found a couple more that were warped, I got them all straightened out now. I used parchment paper, cooking parchment paper, to sandwich these. Then between the glass plates, then we had no transfer of the ink. Now this stuff here, unfortunately, this is water soluble. This is a water soluble ink, and so I was trying to clean the tiles, wiping something off, and just this smears right away. That's pretty terrible. But again, it's going to be under plastic. It's going to be protected, so no big deal, except for the transfer if you're trying to straighten out the tile. So this did get straightened out really good. It looks like we've got a really good quality Horolovar Plato clock in Flip Clock Fan Studios now. I've wanted one of these for a long time. It's historic in its own right. Again, it's they were produced from 1969 to 1971. So at the latest, this was produced in 71, which is which is over 50 years ago. So it's older than some of our flip clocks. If you didn't notice, this is a straight up video. I'm not doing any editing. I'm just getting this out there. I'm not going to worry about making mistakes. You got a lot of ambient noise here, a lot of my flip clocks. I'm surprised my cat's not meowing. He tends to want to make a statement when I'm doing this kind of stuff. He's sitting right beside me, though. He's always beside me. Anyway, that's what we've got here. I've finally got one of these. It means a lot to me because of this guy. I respect the guy who was involved in this, and I just wanted to show you. So if you ever saw a Horolovar Plato clock, you would have a little more understanding of what it is, what its history is, what its importance is. They're not cheap anymore. No flip clock is cheap anymore. Of course, your original Platos are going for high dollar. This is going for about half of what I would expect this to go for. Still a lot of money. And that may change, when people's tastes change. But for right now, flip clocks are hot. So that's what we've got. I'll get this back together. Taking this apart, again, fraught with danger. I did want to mention that, why I think these were broken. They're prone to breakage. But when I was taking this mechanism, I had this completely disassembled to get to the tiles. I wanted to learn how to get to the tiles. And I'll just throw this out here. If you're taking this apart and you'll get down to this and you're like, how do I get this off? You actually got to go through, and you'll have to go through here and take out several of these tiles. And for me, it was around the 5900. You have to take out several of these tiles, and if you do, you'll find a screw that's attaching this bottom ring to the main post. And that main post, do not try to pull that out. That was pressed together. So I got it all the way down to where that was just that post. Anyway, getting this mechanism back on there requires E-clips, which are very hard to get to. There's 3 E-clips. You can't see them. And I was tempted to take a screwdriver, a small screwdriver, and push that E-clip up against here. Or I was gripping, and I could tell I wanted to give this a good squeeze. So I know that's probably what's happened. Either people have dropped these, or they were servicing them and gave it too much of a squeeze on that. So you'll see that if you look for these online, it almost always has a crack in them. So I'm grateful that I have this here. Well, I just wanted to get this out there. Didn't mean to take up too much of your time. I hope it was interesting to you. Thanks for taking the time.